Hi, my name is Joelle COF, and my topic is Southern California's public transportation system. But before I give you my main claim, I'm going to tell you about how last summer I took a trip to France, and the most immediate and evident difference in culture was the way people chose to get around. Instead of commuting for extended amounts of time in a personal vehicle, most everyone opted for the metro system, which linked all the cities together, making for a simple, efficient mode of transportation. Although there are existing forms of public transportation in Southern California, such as buses, the Metrolink, and Amtrak, from my experience, they have proven to be difficult to schedule and are overall inefficient. And so my main claim is that the Southern California has a poor public transportation system which negatively affects the region and its residents. My supporting claims include effect on environment, health, and social interaction. And my first point is that the flawed transportation system harms the environment. And it harms the environment because there's an increased number of vehicles within the concentrated area because the system is not used widely. WorldBank.org states that there are 797 vehicles per 1,000 people in the United States, ranking the United States as the country with the third highest number of vehicles per household. And LACounty.gov says that there are a total population of Los Angeles County alone exceeds 10 million people. And so an article from State of the Air states that vehicle emissions are a major source of air pollution. Another way that the transportation system harms the environment is the construction of roads and highways, which poses environmental risks. And the roads and highways are built to accommodate the growing number of vehicles. And according to a website called IRR, they say, rarely are land and structure seen as equal parts, which means that the construction is priority over the quality of the land. So when you're constructing highways and roads, you're damaging air quality, water quality, and creating waste. There's often erosion and habitat degradation, and a lot of waste is disposed to landfills. And that's a lot of ways that there's a lot of risks posed to the environment. And my second point is it harms the health of residents. And one way that the health of residents is harmed is pollution from abundance of motor vehicles. And State of the Air has Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Riverside tied in first place as most polluted cities in the United States. And the same source also states that, as I said before, vehicle emissions are a major source of air pollution, which is detrimental to the cardiovascular system. And they also say that people who live or work near highways or busy roads bear a disproportionate health burden from air pollution. And health of residents is also harmed because it promotes an auto-dependent society, so people are less likely to use a bike or walk, from a train station or anywhere. And I found an article from culturechange.org that talks about how this society is has an auto addiction, and that auto addiction reduces the quality of life, and it forces people to put up with danger, pollution, noise, and unsightliness, and that this lifestyle is stressful and isolating, and and people are less likely to interact with neighbors or people daily because they're constantly in their own vehicle. And so these connections are vital to personal and social well-being and are damaged or never formed. And my third point is that California's flawed transportation system prevents residents from networking efficiently. And one way is that this limits job opportunities. A map shown by the Bureau of Labor Statistics depicts that the unemployment rate of Southern California is steeper than that of Northern California. And so San Bernardino County is shown with an unemployment rate of 9.3%, while San Francisco County is at an unemployment rate of 5.2%. And San Francisco has forms of public transportation such as the BART, ferries, taxi, and also a rail system, so that people are more likely to have a way to get to a job. And another way that the transportation system prevents residents from networking efficiently is that it hinders social interaction among young adults who seek public forms of entertainment. And so according to Specialty Retail, Fashion Island, a popular outlet mall in Irvine, is visited by more than 14 million people per year, while Westfield Mall's online database reports each year 20 million guests visit the newly expanded Westfield San Francisco Center. And so locations in Northern California are more accessible due to the nature of their public transportation system. And so these 3 points, which are the effects on environment, health, and social interaction, detail how the flaws of the Southern California public transportation system pose negative effects on the region and its residents. Thank you.
All right, Joelle, the proposition's clearly stated, although it does have 2 parts in it, so you've got a couple of dependent clauses there. The secondary points are labeled. I think they need to be stated as claims in the preview as well as when you get to the supporting points. But when you get to the supporting points, they're usually labeled as claims. The first and the second points are basically the same point. It's bad to the environment, and that's the first point, and then it's issues of bad health. That's all related to the environment again. So maybe there's a little bit of a separate issue on the first point concerning construction and maybe the negative impact it has on the environment, but most of the stuff starts off with talking about pollution kinds of issues, and then the second point is also talking about pollution issues, so I think there's a lot of overlap there. There's no quantification of what either of these harms is, though. There's just this general suggestion, construction does, it might cause erosion. There's no consideration about the environment that goes on there, and it has, Los Angeles area has the highest air pollution in the country. So, what does that mean? How many people die? How many jobs are lost? How much acreage has been destroyed? What habitats are no longer available to us? Any of those kinds of things. None of that is quantifiable. We've got very vague references to what the harmful consequences are. And I think that there's probably a lot of information that talks about how air pollution in Southern California leads to high mortality rates. There's probably information about how much, you can get all the old guys around who talk about how they used to play in the orange fields over there that aren't there anymore. I'm sure all of you probably live in one of those places that a guy my age would have said, oh yeah, we used to ride our bikes over there and we could go everywhere because it wasn't exactly farmland, but there were large open spaces. There aren't a lot of open spaces anymore. A lot of it because the roads and congestion and all that stuff has contributed to that. I think there might be some arguments about that kind of thing, although how long has it been since we built a major freeway here in Southern California? That would be one of those questions that I would be wondering, is it really getting worse? The last major freeway we had is the 210 freeway. That part's been done for 15 years. We haven't had a new freeway. We have current freeways being upgraded and fixed, that sort of thing. But that's not the issue that you're worried about. It's, that we're destroying land and all those kinds of things. The comparisons that you make to other places, I think you're getting into some value issues on that third point especially. The source citation that you give suggests that. Culturechange.org suggests, the lifestyle here is conducive to this, that, and the other thing as opposed to this other thing. That's a value argument. I got to be honest with you, all the stuff that you described that might be idyllic for somebody would drive me crazy. I don't want to live someplace where I can't have access to my car. I want to live someplace where I can drive to 10,000 places immediately. Are people crushed on top of each other? Well, you know what? They're not crushed on top of me where I am. If I was living in a downtown urban area that was designed for the use of subway systems like they have in a lot of parts of the world, that's the thing that would kill me.
Sounds like you have auto addiction.
Yeah, that's it. I've got auto addiction. That's my problem, at least the culturechange.org would say I have auto addiction. That's the problem. I'm perfectly happy not hearing my neighbor's toilet flush. You know, that's a good thing from my point of view, but that's all created because of automobiles, you know, that sort of thing. But that's like I said, a value issue, I think, more than it is a factual issue. Now, the stuff about employment and about, you know, how much activity it gets, I think there's a little bit more there that's factually based. I think you are making some big inferences here about, you know, how frequently something is visited, like you mentioned the Irvine Center there, and you compare it to the one in Northern California, blah, 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 blah. I would suspect that's because there are 15 or 16 major shopping areas in Southern California that do the same kind of thing as the Irvine Spectrum, and maybe there are only 4 or 5 in Northern California, and so that's why you get more at the one than the other. I don't know, I mean, I haven't looked at it and counted, but that's an awfully big inference to make, to say, well, because they've got, you know, the BART system up there that, you know, you get more visitors to these places, and folks, that seems a little bit of stretch of the imagination on that. I thought you did a nice job presenting it. I did think that you did a good job presenting information for the most part. I think you could use a little bit more expert testimony on some of the problems that occur because we don't have public transportation. And I think there is good information on the job stuff. Just the examples you have, that feels a little bit thin, like I said. All right, thank you all very much. That appears to be the